everyone, it's me Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm here today to guide you through a Tabata circuit. We're going to do a super Tabata circuit today, so the lengths of the intervals are actually going to be a little longer than usual. We're going to go for 40 seconds of work with 20 seconds of rest 4 times instead of 8 rounds of 20 seconds of work with 10 seconds of rest. It's just going to give us an opportunity to move mindfully and a little bit slower if we need to just really engage as much as possible. So I let you know in the description that I'm having a little lower back pain, and after talking to a lot of y'all, I know that I'm not the only one who's feeling it in my lower back. Maybe it's from shoveling snow, or sitting in a chair for too long, or slipping on the ice, sleeping weird. Any of those things could just be causing some discomfort. So today we're really just gonna focus on really engaging the abdominal core to find a little bit of relief for the back body, the back core. Yay. Make your way to your space. Make sure you have some water. Make sure you bribe your pets and your family members or roommates or the people down the hall, you know, any of those things. Thank you. We're actually going to start down on our mats today. Fred, I'm going to turn your light off. You're being a nasty lady. Do you want this? Whoa, that's why you don't get your own personal light. Okay. Am I recording in the right place? I don't know. I don't see myself. Yes, I am. Oh my gosh, sorry for that. What did I do? Just gonna, no. I'm sorry, I just tagged you by accident. Sam, I hit something on my phone. Okay, I can't see myself. How do I get out of this? But I see that you can still see me. We're gonna start in 2 minutes. Okay, let's take a moment to assess the lighting. Looks a little dark today. Hey Jen, you just missed me looking real dumb. Don't worry, I'm sure it'll happen again. We'll just turn the lights in this direction. I think that might be a little bit better. No, that definitely seems like it could be worse. And we start in 1 minute. Let's go back to option A. Oh, let's add this. Great. Accidentally tagging people. You know how it is. Okay. The great news is that I know where all the timers are. All right, so let's come on down. Take your time to come on down to your mat if you, like me, are experiencing some delightful lower back pain. We're actually going to start off today in tabletop. So make your way into tabletop. Get your hands, palms underneath of your chest and shoulders. Separate your fingers nice and wide. Let's warm up our wrists just a little bit as we first come in to tabletop. So just start to send your hips back towards your heels. Already feels so good on the back. And then gently press into your knees. Keep your core engaged to help you lift yourself back up. So sending your hips towards your heels, maybe even stretching a little bit, pressing the pads of your fingers into the floor to add a little extra stretch, or keeping it as gentle as you need to. Maybe it's a little bit less of a stretch of your hips back towards your heels. We're going to do one more after this. Make sure that you're pulling those shoulders away from your ears as well. Your back is engaged, so your shoulder blades are towards each other. So we're inhaling back, exhaling forward. This time we're going to stay in tabletop. Give yourself some cat-cows. We're going to move really slowly. So use your inhale, press your hands into the floor. We're going to hang out here for just a couple of breaths in cat. Really focus on pulling that lower belly button towards your spine, and as you exhale, take your time, move within the range of motion, still pulling that belly in. So still supported, finding the lift that you can, and just honoring whatever your body can bring to today's practice. Just warming up right here. Take a couple of breaths once you come into cow. Once again, really work to engage your upper back, squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other, drawing that lower belly in nice and tight. Let's go one more time in each direction for both cat and cow. Remember to hang out here as you come into the stretch. If it feels good, to find a little bit of a gentle rock side to side, maybe through your hips, maybe focusing on creating a little bit of a stretch more through the shoulders as opposed to a shake of your tail today. And as you're ready, go ahead, find your breath, change and your movement into cow one more time. So make sure that you're really drawing that lower belly in. So not just letting that belly dump out so that there's a lot of stress on that lower back. Finding the support for your back from your belly, and also once again in the circular motion for your belly from your back. All right, we're gonna walk ourselves forward, so take your time. If you're feeling good today, you might want to come into a cobra with your hands, palms a little closer together, and a big lift of your chest. And if you're feeling any sort of lower back pain, we get to bring our forearms down towards the ground. Oh, that feels a lot of stress. All right, opening your arms out a little bit wider or bringing them a little further in front of you can help you to just work to bring the stretch into the upper part of the back and the chest, as opposed to creating too much pressure into your lower back. So maybe you have your glutes squeezed and you're really pressing that pubic mound down towards the mat to help find a bigger lift of your chest, or maybe you just have a gentle contraction of your abdominal core, still just finding a little lift in that upper body, pressing your elbows into the floor. Beautiful. Take a moment now, make a nice little pillow with your hands and relax your head down on your hands. Bend your knees and windshield wipe your feet. Relieve any tension that might have built up on that lower back. Next, we're going to try a prone leg raise. So Superman, but just with your lower half. If you're feeling some back pain, you're going to do one leg at a time. Otherwise, you can really contract your core and once again start to press that pubic mound, that belly button area into the floor for some stability. If you're doing one leg at a time, select which leg you'd like to lift and find the squeeze from the glute. Maybe you don't lift up very high today. Make sure that you're still breathing. Can you relax and release those shoulders away from your ears? Take one more big inhale, and on your exhale, relax that leg down. On your next inhale, pick the opposite leg or challenge yourself once again to pick both legs up, but find the motion from the squeeze in your glute and see how much squeezing your glute can help to lift that leg or legs up off the floor. We'll take one more big breath right here. And as you exhale, go ahead, relax and release your glutes back down towards the floor. Take your time. We're going to roll over onto your back. However you need to get onto your back, you get there. Yay! All right, so coming down onto our backs, lowering yourself. You can use your elbows for some support, one vertebrae at a time. Bend your knees and walk your feet towards your glutes. Might even be able to stretch down and touch your fingers with with the backs of your ankles, with your toes. I was like, how can you do that? All right, and then I want you to use your next exhale to really pull your belly in and glue that lower back down towards the mat. So just working to decrease that big arch that you might have in your back. There can still be a little bit of a lift right at the middle of the spine, but that lower back is glued down towards the floor. Keep those heels down on the floor. You can relax your arms down by your side. Open your chest. Press the back of your hands into the floor. With that stomach sucked in, everything's going to lift up at the same time. So feet pressed down towards the floor. Lift yourself up, and if your back hurts, you might not be able to lift up into a very high glute bridge today, but I really want you to focus on finding that press through the heels of keeping the upper back on the mat and keeping that belly pulled in nice and tight. Take one more big inhale, and on your exhale, lower yourself back down to the floor. Once again, really work on drawing your belly in. Option to lift ourselves up one more time in a glute bridge and hold, or if that felt like too much for you today, just focus on really pressing that lower back into the mat and engaging your abs, and simply hang out right there, working to create and find that engagement. If ab work is a challenge for you, if you feel like your abs are really weak, just take this time right now to really focus on pulling that belly in, on finding a nice squeeze. And if you have that squeeze, if it's easy, keeping those feet ground towards the floor, gently lifting yourself up. Once again, working to find the movement from the glutes, lifting. Let's take 2 more breaths right here. And on your exhale, gently lower yourself down. You might want to draw your knees in towards your chest, but don't sacrifice that lower back coming off of the floor to draw your knees in towards your chest. So you're still really grounding. Maybe that means that your knees don't come in quite as close as they normally do. That's okay. All right, you can hang out right here in this relaxing knees to chest motion while I show you what's happening for move number 1. I'm going to scooch myself down just a little bit because we're going to start off with dead bug. All right, depending on how you're feeling today, you can go for a very simple version of dead bug. So once again, we're really gluing that lower back down on the mat and drawing our belly buttons back towards our spine. Opposite arm's going to move with opposite leg, and you can either keep your knees bent and do this one to make it a little bit easier. Maybe you don't even touch your toe all the way down towards the floor. Maybe your fingers don't touch down behind you because you're making the motion really small. Or you can always extend your leg all the way out to work just a little bit harder. Or a lot harder, just depending on how you're feeling today. Most important is just keeping your core as engaged as possible. Anytime that you find that your back really hurts, I find this move, dead bug, to be the best in helping to bring some action and contraction into the front part of the body to help relax and release later the lower back. All right, so we've got 4 rounds of the same thing. It's the same thing. I'm so nice today. And we start in 3. Pull that belly in and lift those knees up. 2, 1. Opposite arm, opposite leg. So either just gently reaching behind you. Remember, especially if your back hurts, it's not going to be about speed.
But you can do this same workout when your back is feeling really great and just go for the slightly more challenging option. I don't have the space of actually extending that leg all the way out, bringing that heel close towards the floor. If you need something a little in between, think about kicking that leg up towards the ceiling, but still just working to reach out just a little bit. Now, the more that you have your knees drawn in towards your chest, if you still have that lower back on the floor though, take a break. The easier that it's going to be on your abs, because having your knees really close takes a lot of the workout. You can make it even harder just by drawing those knees a little bit further away. You're going to notice that brings a little more stress to your back. So be kind to yourself today. Second round starts in 2, 1. Pull your belly in. Come back to just making sure that your stomach is sucked in, and work with your breath. So inhale everything in together and exhale. Find either that tap or maybe that kick up towards the ceiling or diagonally to the wall in front of you. Really think about where you're bringing your knees to make sure that you are finding a little bit of engagement and challenge for yourself. And I've offered you so many different ways to adjust how you're moving your legs, to feel this within your, take a break within your abs. Maybe you want to gently windshield wipe your knees right and left to relieve any tension you might feel. You've got 10 more seconds before we come into our third round. Lift yourself up, pull your belly in, and begin. I had a terrible dream last night. I'm gonna distract you with a great story. It's really not a great story because it's about a terrible dream. I had a terrible dream that I was driving on some sort of icy, snowy, super dark road with my brother, which is so random because I haven't seen him since like the pandemic started, since that February. But we were following behind some like big trucks just because there was more light and there was plenty of space, but things were very icy. Take a break, and I drove us off a cliff in my dream, and then I woke up and my back hurt. What a horrible night's sleep. All right, so we're gonna get one more round of those. Once again, start to draw that belly in right now. Bring your legs up to tabletop. We're working on our abs, and now the movement starts. Last 40 seconds of work right here. So maybe you challenge yourself a little bit more now that you've already been getting that engagement. You can see what you can do today, either kicking that leg out a little in front of you or extending that leg all the way with your heel close towards the floor. If you tried it and it didn't feel good, you know your body, so you can always come back to what does work. Think of it as being smart and finding movement. There is nothing wrong with just taking it a little bit easier some days. Yay, we made it. Taking it easier and doing something is definitely going to help you feel better than just doing nothing. Movement is medicine, so yay. All right, what's next? We're going to roll over because we're going to do some push-ups. I know, what? What? But we are. We're going to add in some stretching with our push-ups. So I'm going to give you 2 amazing options. All right, technically I'm going to give you 3. So the easiest version that we can do is being here in tabletop and just working to bring ourselves down in one nice line. So making sure that you're moving from a delightfully straight line from your hips through the crown of your head, not letting that belly come down towards the floor first. So you can be right here in tabletop and then work to find that stretch like we warmed up with, of bringing your hips towards your heels for a version of child's pose. If you're ready to work a little bit more, you can always extend those knees back behind you. Just make sure that you're still coming down in one line and not allowing that belly to dump down first and do the worm. I mean, especially if your back feels bad, that's not going to feel good. If your knees are on the floor, you get to stretch your hips back towards your heels for a nice big stretch once you get in child's pose. However, if you're going to do your push-ups from on your toes, which I'm not even going to pretend to do today, after you do your push-ups, you can send your hips up towards your heels, bring your belly towards your thighs, and find that same stretch coming into up dog. So once again, down dog, down dog. Let's go ahead and start with whatever push-up works for you. I'm going to start from these tabletop push-ups. And while you're here in tabletop, really find that draw in of your belly, the same way that you pulled your core in while you were laying down on your back, and enjoy this delightfully flat back wherever you are. Okay, 3, 2, 1, begin. So your eyes are looking down, hopefully around the range of what's between your fingertips. Remember, if you're feeling great and you can add some speed into today's workout, you add that speed into today's workout. Oh, I forgot to add in a child's pose stretch. As you pull yourself forward from this child's pose or from your down dog, really continue to keep the focus on keeping your stomach sucked in and then finding length. So come back to finding that length. Take a break of your shoulders away from your ears. Maybe you want to sit up and shake your wrist out. You got a whole 20 seconds to find some fun little wrist movements. All right, 5 seconds till we start again. So come on back down. Maybe you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and walk those knees back. Begin, and maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to stay right here in tabletop. So really just working with your breath right now. Inhaling down, exhaling up, and then inhaling back, exhaling forward. Maybe you even find that you need to hang out for a couple extra seconds in that stretch. Once again, what's happening with your belly? The more that if you have your knees on the floor, really press those knees into the floor, the more it's going to help you to also just find a little release from the back and more abdominal action. All right, take that 20-second break right now. Find what feels good for you. I'm gonna just get a little neck stretch happening. All right, begin again, round 3. Let's see what can happen here in round 3. Because remember, today is not about speed. It's just about making sure you still find some movement, even if you're not feeling 100%. Because I know you're going to feel better if you do something than if you just sit around and do nothing. And maybe you challenge yourself a little bit, and maybe you challenge yourself a lot. Yay, we got one more round to go. One more round, then we're going to stand up. So if you're like, this is too easy. We're just really making sure that we get those abs engaged and working before we stand up and challenge ourselves a little bit more today. Begin. I do believe so much of our back pain, comes from sitting in a chair a lot, from like being hunched over at our computers, but also just because we're just not using our front core to help support that back core. And I know that so frequently we do our best, but I notice anytime my back hurts to just like take the time to come back to some of the basics. Yay, we made it. 20 seconds to yourself. Find whatever stretch you want. Feel free to grab some water if you need some water. I'm going to take a sip ski. And we're going to stand up. So take your time standing up. Hopefully already by just like engaging your abs a little bit. If you were with me in the back pain party, you might already be feeling a little bit better. Yay! I know that I am, but I want you to continue to move mindfully so that you can feel better later, tomorrow. All types of pain, especially back pain, man, they take some time. They take time. So give yourself some time to feel good. All right, so next up we're gonna go for a squat. So your squat's, once again, really gonna be determined by how you're feeling today. Maybe you open your feet a little bit wider. If you don't wanna go for a traditional squat, if that's feeling too much, think about going for a goddess squat, working a little bit more of inner and outer thighs without really working the back as much, honestly. It's a lot easier, at least for me. Maybe your body feels a little bit different and mechanically moves a little differently, but to come into this goddess squat, still really keeping those abs engaged and really press through my heels. This one is obviously a little bit more challenging. I'm gonna start with the slightly more challenging option. Why didn't I pick that up before? And I'm probably gonna move into some goddess squats as we continue through this 4 rounds, 40 seconds. Let's start in 3, 2, 1. All right, so if you're going for the traditional squat, your heels are visible behind your toes. You might even find that it feels good to have a little lift in your heels. So putting a towel under your feet might help, because I still want you to focus, if you have your heels in this direction, on finding that little stretch behind you. And remember, it might be a lot less than usual, but you're really keeping that belly pulled in nice and tight. Where's your weight? Is it in your heels? Focus on really pressing through your heels to lift yourself up. And stop thinking about, take a break. Stop thinking about that giant like squeeze at the very top. If you're really pressing through your heels the whole way up and you just stand up to normal, you don't have to find that extra super tight squeeze. All right, we've got 3 more rounds. 2, 1, begin. We're gonna do this same thing. So sometimes the challenge while you're working out is really being smart for your body. You know, like you're used to going so hard. You want to push yourself as much as possible. Sometimes you just need to dial it back a little. But if you're feeling great today, if you want to move a little bit faster, if you had some weights nearby, if you want to grab hold of some weights, maybe even add in a nice little overhead press here at the top. I definitely don't recommend adding in that overhead press if your lower back isn't feeling so good. Yay! All right, we got 2 more rounds. I'm going to switch to a goddess squat for these last 2 rounds. Now you got some options for ways you can make it harder. Moving a little bit faster, adding in that overhead press if you've got weights. If you don't have weights, think about pressing up onto your toes. You can still reach up overhead. Here we go. Oh, this feels so much better. So however it is that you have your feet pointing, you still are pressing through your heels to lift yourself up or lower yourself down. You're gonna feel those glutes firing up, and in this option, in the wide leg goddess squat, you're just gonna work a little bit more of those inner and outer thighs as opposed to getting into those quads and hamstrings. Still make sure you're just working with your breath, keeping that chest as lifted as possible. Take a break. Hip circles are actually a great way to relieve tension of the lower back. All right, 3, 2, 1, open that chest. Here we go, last round. Just working in the range of motion that you've got today. You can move as fast as you need to. You can add in those weights. Reach down to the floor, press up overhead. Just make sure that belly's pulled in tight. Yay! Who's feeling awesome? Who's proud of themselves
for showing up right now. Yay, we got this. This is a great core workout to prepare for, we made it, to prepare for shoveling any snow, to really think about being as engaged as possible. Okay, next up, oh, it's fun. We've got some punches. We're gonna work those abs gently. We're gonna start to just kind of like open up the back by finding a little bit more reach. I'm so mean for talking about the snow too, A, because I'm in DC and we have none. And B, I live in an apartment, so I don't have to deal with that. Okay, so as we come into our punches next, you're going to press through those feet into the floor. You can have a slight bend in your knees. I want you to, again, keep some weight in your heels and make sure that you're not overarching that back. So a little bit of a pull forward, but not, as we just talked about with squats, no sort of crazy squeeze towards the front. Okay, so with those abs really tight, we're going to start off just punching towards the front. If there is any sort of motion, the motion's going to come from the shoulders as opposed to coming from a twisting of the waist, because your core is going to be in super tight. And then our next move is going to be to find a little bit of a cross body punch. Obviously the shoulders are going to move a little bit more in the cross body punch, but again, it's coming from a rotation of your engaged core and not a twist of the body to throw your arms. So let's start with that forward punch in 3, 2, weight in your heels, belly in, begin. So if you're feeling really great, you can make these punches super fast. Maybe you've even got some weights in your hands. If you're really feeling sore in your back and you're being careful, you can keep your punches nice and slow. Just work towards the idea of finding some reach, again, of really pressing through your feet. And while we have most of the weight in your heels, where else is the weight? Do you find yourself rolling to the outside or inside of your feet? If so, try not to do that. Just try. All right, pull that belly in again. Great, round 1 is done. Maybe you want to give yourself a couple rolls of your shoulders. Let's come into that cross body punch next. And if it doesn't feel right for you, you can return to just a nice little forward reach. Ground your heels, pull your belly in, open your chest, engage your back. 2, begin. So if you're feeling good, you can make the motion really fast if you're feeling good and really feel that core working, but you're going to feel that a little bit more in your back as well. So if you're not feeling amazing, keep it really nice and slow, but again, you're finding this rotation from the core, of being so tight, not of rotating at the waist. So the rotation is happening in your shoulders. You can still work to be sharp with your movement. And you can use that exhale to find a little bit more abdominal engagement. Awesome. Find those shoulder rolls. Together is a little easier. Single shoulder rolls are going to reach further down your lower back. All right, we got 2 more rounds. You can do whatever sort of punch or reach you want. I'm going to come back to the reach. Maybe you even find you need to bring a little bit more bend into your knees. Still grounding through those heels. And really just bringing your belly in as tight as you can. So making sure that when we're talking about sucking your stomach in, it's not sucking your stomach in, it's sucking in the lower belly area. Like if someone was about to come up to you and punch you in the stomach, that is a whole different feeling that you would get to engage than if you were like, I'm taking a picture. I mean, honestly, once you figure out how to engage your abdominal core, take a break. You're going to want to pull that in for a picture too. But like, you know, back in the days when you're just trying to look good for a picture, you're just sucking in this upper part, and I want you to engage a little bit lower. All right, one more time through. In 3, 2, 1. Going to come back to that nice little cross punch. Maybe you even want to do a bit of a press through, just to be a little bit more gentle. Just make sure that you're finding your belly pulled in. You can bend your knees a little bit more. Make sure you're keeping the weight in your heels. Your toes might even gently lift up off the floor. That's okay. But the balls of your feet are down. So your glutes are also gently firing. You might even feel a little extra engagement in your hamstrings. Yay, we made it! All right, let's come on back down to the floor. We've got one more move on the floor. I know, I'm so mean, take your time. And then we've got two more standing moves. You can grab some water if you want. Mine feels a little far away, so I'm gonna get it after this next set. So while you're breathing and just relaxing, we're gonna do some side planks next. What? I know. All right, so you have many options for your side plank. If you're really hurting today, you're just gonna hang out right here on the floor and just work to find some length in your spine and some lift. If you're, in between, if you're feeling all right, you can bring your top leg forward for a little bit of support. And from here, you can lift yourself up and it's a little bit more supportive and easy, or you can extend both legs out, or maybe you extend your knees out and you can still lift your hips up while feeling supported. You're welcome. So many options. All right, so we're gonna start off with just a hip dip, so just working to lift yourself up a little bit as you can. You can work and be a little bit more engaged. This is probably an option for people whose backs don't hurt to be straight armed and probably straight legs. But after our hip dip, we're going to go for a nice twist. So even if your hips are still touching down on the floor, or if you're in some sort of here or a straight leg, just finding a nice little twist. So we'll do the hip dip and then the twist, and then we'll switch to the other side. Work on finding as much length as you can. Set yourself up. We start in 3, 2, 1, begin. So once again, that belly is pulled in nice and tight. You can have your other hand wherever you want to. Work as slow or as fast as functions for your form today. You're going to keep things nice and slow. Just work on using that breath to help find the movement. And if you find that you can't do this hip dip, you're pressing your lower arm, elbow into the floor, and you're just going to open up your chest and find some length right here. Maybe you even stretch the opposite hand up. Great, we made it through round 1. We're going to do the same side. This time we're going to just find a little reach and rotation. So come back down. You've got 4 seconds before we get started. You can keep that lower hip on the floor and begin. So this time, definitely reaching your hand up. Finding as much rotation as works for you. What's happening with your belly? Is your core drawn in still? I hope so. So remember, you can be working much harder than me if it feels right for your body by lifting yourself up, getting your hips off the floor, maybe extending one or both legs, maybe moving just a little bit faster, maybe even bringing a weight to the party. Awesome. Take your time, either just roll over to the opposite side, turn yourself around. Let's get started with those hip dips again. 5 seconds till we get started. Remember, each side of the body is different, so maybe things that felt meh on the other side feel great over here. You never know unless you find out. Well, unless you try, I mean. Make sure that you're still drawing those shoulders away from your ears and finding as much length as you can. And remember, if this does not honor you, to find a little bit of a lift up of those hips, just work to find some length right here. Yeah. Join those people who are just engaging that core and working to find length. We've got 10 seconds left. So if you think that you've got it in you to maybe try again with that belly pulled
a little bit tighter. Maybe you noticed it wasn't drawn in. Yay, we made it. All right, next up, we're gonna go for those twists. 10 seconds till we get started. If you need a little extra time to get down to the floor, take it right now. We start in 3, 2, 1, so that chest is nice and open. Finding as much reach through, a little thread the needle. Big stretch towards the middle back there. Think of this amazing stretch. Next time you have to go outside to throw that snow over your shoulder. Or you can say, hey, let's do this workout together. You know what? My back hurts. Can you do that for me? You're so warmed up. Beautiful. Great way to find some together time and get what you want. Nice. We made it. Finish this last one. Because you're worth it. And then take your time. We're going to come up to our feet. Grab some water if you haven't had any water. And hopefully you really are starting to feel a little better. 2 more rounds of moves. All right, we're gonna do some lateral lunges next. We're gonna get to use our arms in those lunges as well. So if you're feeling good, you're actually going to step to the side and come into your lunge. You can use those arms to swing in that direction, and as you stand yourself up, you can give yourself a knee drive. And if you're not feeling good, you can always just go for whatever part of that does feel good. Maybe you even want to keep your legs separate and just work to lift yourself up. I like dragging the foot in. I think it feels a little bit better than to have your legs super wide apart, but do what feels good for you. We'll do 2 times in one direction and 2 in the other. 3, 2, 1, begin. So either step or your feet are out, and then inhales, arms come up overhead. Really find that length. Make sure you're again moving with that intention. So it's not if you're having back pain about working in speed, but if you're feeling good, you don't need to move this slowly. Or maybe you're just coming back to working out after a while, and it feels good to just take your time to really focus on getting that engagement. So many times we just rush through movements. Moving a little bit slower can help us to just really, yay, we made it, to really focus on what we're engaging a little bit more. All right, we've got one more time on the same side. In 3, 2, 1, pull your belly in and begin. So you're stepping softly. You're making sure that your feet aren't slamming down on the floor. Maybe you're not used to taking a nice slow lunge. You're still straightening out that opposite leg, really feeling that inner thigh. Maybe you really notice having worked it a little bit ago. I'm even finding a little reach with my arms up overhead. Like my arms are a tree, just to find a little bit more flexion in the side body, especially with those abs pulled in nice and tight. Yay! We're gonna go towards the opposite side for the next 2. So I'm just trying to help increase the range of motion that really might have been limited if you've been sitting in a chair or laying in bed because your back hurts. Pull your belly in, take that bend in your knees, and begin. So either stepping out, drawing it back in, maybe adding in that knee drive to work your abdominal core a little bit more, but make sure if you add in that knee drive, that you're not just driving your knee up. The name is so misleading. Think about it as like an ab elevator for your leg. You get to practice some balance too. Maybe it feels good for you on this side and it didn't feel good on the other, and that's okay. Maybe it doesn't feel good on this side and it did on the other, and that's okay too.
Yay! Maybe it doesn't feel good to bring your arms all the way up overhead. Maybe you're just keeping it a little bit more relaxed, or even your hands at your waist for some balance. Just trying to encourage you to find a little extra reach if it works for you. Last round starts in 3, 2, 1, begin. Nice. Moving slow with that breath, pulling your core in as tight as possible. Taking the rounding out of that back. Keeping control in your step. As you step out, think towards really pressing the outer edge of your straight foot into the floor. To get a little bit more stretch on the inner outer thigh, even into the calf. Just a couple seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Yay! All right. We've got just a couple more minutes. I want to go through one last move, but we're going to just do 2 rounds of it. Then we'll do some really nice gentle stretching. And I'm going to give you the option to just finish class laying down on your backs and taking a couple of breaths down there on the back. All right, so next time we're going to go for a little bit of a fly and a step back. So just squeezing those shoulder blades together and stepping your feet back. You can make this a little bit more challenging, A, by holding some weight as you do your fly, or, to be smart, hinging forward a little bit more. The more that you're really hinging forward, the more challenging it's going to be. Maybe you even want to step back and come into a nice big lunge. I don't want to do that today, but if you want to do that today, I want you to find the workout that works for you. So we're just going to go for 2 rounds. We're going to alternate which leg steps back each time. You're going to really squeeze those shoulder blades together. Do find a little bit of a hinge at the hips. Make sure you're not rounding in that back. So a nice length from your spine, even if your hinge is just a teeny little bit. And then we're just going to step or tap back for the beginner's move. Add whatever extra huzzah you want to everyone else. 3, 2, 1, begin. So if you're feeling really great today, you can just do this same exact move a little bit faster. And also maybe with those weights. If you do have weight in your hand, that's going to limit the speed that you're moving. So maybe you're feeling great, but you have weight in your hands and we're still the same pace. You know what? We're amazing. So that's cool. I'm happy to be the same pace as you. Shoulders are pulled away from those ears. Ooh, feeling that upper back, just getting a little bit of love. Pull that lower belly in again. Yay! Take your time. Let's roll it up. One more time through. Yeah, I'm gonna give myself a little shake of the hips because it helps to release the back. 3, 2, 1, and then we just step and squeeze. So maybe your hands are coming a little bit more forward of your chest, or maybe you need to bring them down by your side. I like this forward reach. Feel it a little bit more down the back, but a lot in the upper back and the shoulders. And that part's feeling good, so it feels good. Feels good to move, it feels good. You can really squeeze that glute as you press through the heel as you step back. Ooh, shoulders getting tired. We made it. Awesome. All right, let's stretch it out real fast. We got just a couple minutes. We're gonna end on the floor. So take a big inhale, stretch up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bend your knees as much as you need to. We're going to forward fold down towards the floor. I know, why would I do that? You're so mean. But remember, you can bend your knees as much as you need to. Maybe you even relax your hands on your legs to help. Maybe you bend your knees so much you can reach your fingers down towards the floor. If it feels good for you, you can send your hips up a little bit higher. Start to relax your head down. Even if you have that big bend in your knee, find a little tuck of your chin to your chest
A little shake of the head, yes and no. Just breathe some space into your back side of the body. If this feels insanely uncomfortable for you, go ahead and just release yourself down to your mat and come into child's pose. Otherwise, take 2 more super slow, big breaths right here in your forward fold. Shaking your head. And after that second giant breath, take your time. Let's come down to the floor and meet anyone else who might already be in child's pose. You can open your knees wider if you want to, or just send your hips back towards your heels and walk your hands forward. If that feels too much for you with your hands forward, remember you can generously bend your elbows. Use your exhale to find a little bit more length in your lower spine. Really just breathe into that space in your lower back. Take your time, press yourself to tabletop. Put your feet to one side. Sit your glutes down slowly. Kick your legs out. We're gonna lay down on our backs. Take your time making it all the way down to your back. Maybe you're with me wiggling yourself forward one cheek at a time to the top of the mat. You can bring your hands behind your thighs to help you as you supportedly roll yourself down. You can even gently bring those knees towards the chest, but keep your lower back on the floor. And I'm going to leave you down here on the floor today. I encourage you to just take a couple extra breaths. You can release your feet back down towards the floor. If your lower back is really hurting, you can bring your knees in towards each other to hang out in a leg tent. I made that up. Or if you're feeling really good, maybe you want to kick those legs out nice and wide to come into a traditional savasana. Maybe you want to bring a little bit of opening towards your hips. If it still feels good, with some bound angle or reclined butterfly with your feet a little further away. Maybe it feels good to just gently rock those knees side to side. I just encourage you, especially if that back is feeling challenged, to take a couple extra breaths to find a little extra engagement of the core down here. And a little stillness before you get up and move on with your day. I want to thank everyone who came and joined us today, however able or disabled you felt like your body was. There's always an opportunity to find some movement, to find what feels good, and to love whatever your body can do today. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that we did do, I hope that you'll reach out. I hope you're feeling great. I know I feel so much better. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.